Beginning this tween path animation, I've drawn a piece of artwork here. It's going to be my little thing, and I will convert it to a symbol. So I will hit F8, which is the modify convert to symbol. I'm going to call this thing, it's a movie clip. At that point, hit return, it's now a movie clip and it's ready to go. If I right click on it, I can choose create motion tween. I could have also right clicked in the timeline and it chose create motion tween down there as well. Going back to the first frame, I'm going to position this in its starting place, go to the end of the tween, position it where I want it to be at the end. I now have a basic animation. I'm going to modify this green color here so it's not green, but make it darker so it's easier to see as it plays back in the video. Now this, with the selection tool active, I can push and pull on that path and my object is going to follow this path. So I can scrub the timeline so it's following the path. Now what I'm going to do is do a fun little trick where I will turn the object so it's pointing in the direction of the path. We can see now as it goes through that the object is moving on the path, but it's not following it per se. But currently, if I go to my properties panel, I will see that if I select the object, I have properties of this object, instance of thing. But if I select the tween, that path that it's following, this is going to be the big lesson in this video, is talking about that path that's being followed. So as I follow this path, I can choose Orient to Path, and we'll see automatically that my object is now following the curvature of that path with very little effort on my part, simply clicking up a box. And because this tween path is modifiable, I can change it around and it will follow it. So I can change the object. So I can select the path, not just before the path and object were selected. So now we can see the path is changing shape. Path is changing shape. I can even rotate the path so that my object is now going in a different direction. I can rotate my path. So it's a pretty exciting thing that you can very easily modify that path, that shape, that direction that things are following as part of this. Next, and I apologize for the dashboard interruption there, I'm going to add a new layer. I'm going to drag out a new copy of my ship, and I'm going to create a different path for it to follow. Now this time when I create the path, I'm going to use the pencil tool. I have my pencil tool set to smooth so I get a little better shape. And the key thing on this path is I have to create a non-crossing path. So the path that I'm working with, if it were to cross on itself like this, the problem is when the object would get to this point, it doesn't know, do I go continue on, do I turn one way or the other? Because as far as it's concerned, that path is all just kind of one object. So it really doesn't know what to do at this point or any other point where all those lines cross. So instead I have to create a path. And notice I'm using the pencil tool. I could use the pen tool as well if I prefer to draw with that. But the paintbrush won't work because that creates a shape. But if I create a path, I can make it fairly detailed. A lot of activity to it. A little bit ugly there, but we'll make do. And now if I double click on the path so it's selected, I can now cut that path. So I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut Command X, and it cuts the path out of there. Now I can right click on my object, create a motion tween, so I'm ready to create the motion tween. Now with that active, I'm going to click on the tween so it knows that is what I'm interested in. I'm not interested in the artwork. I'm interested in the tween. Not this tween, but this tween right here. And I have to use the keyboard paste. I can't use edit paste. I can't right click to get to it. At that point I have to use Command V, paste off the keyboard. Now that if I play this, it's going to go really fast through that, and that's kind of hard to follow. So I'm going to take the second animation that I've created and stretch it way out so it now doesn't go quite as fast, and we can see that my ship is following that path. And this is another time where Orient Two Paths would be really cool. I'm going to grab my free transform tool. I'm going to take my object and modify it so it's pointing in the direction of the path. Click on the tween path and choose Orient Two Paths. Now we can see it does add in a whole series of keyframes, and it's using those keyframes as a means to try to align the rotation of the object to that path. So when you're trying to create a complex path-based animation, this can be a pretty good way to do it. So we can see when I test my movie and watch the two run, we'll see objects moving around on screen, and we get a pretty fun animation. So it's a very rapid and quick way to build it. Now, if you notice, the ship ran off screen because my path extends below, but I can very easily, once again, pull the path up. So now it's completely contained on the stage area so that my little thing, ship, whatever it is, will continue to follow and rotate along that path. So that really is all there is to following tween paths. It's much easier than using the motion guides and that process that was done before. You can still do that, but this would be the preferred way. So to recap, create your artwork, draw the path with the pencil tool or pen tool, select that path, cut it, turn the layer with artwork to a tween layer with a motion tween. Make sure the tween is selected, not artwork, so double click in the tween area and then Command V or paste, and that puts that path in. And that's all there is to it.